Welcome to my show, When Everyone Wins, where a key goal I have for you is shifting from power over and under to power within and between. I'm your host, Judy Ryan. In each episode, I'll share my knowledge from decades in workplace culture transformation and leadership development as the founder and CEO of LifeWorks Systems. I'll help you build trust and emotional and social intelligence. My show, When Everyone Wins, is about creating a life you love and helping others do the same. Welcome everyone to our today's episode. Our topic today is developing confident, caring, collaborative people. Boy, do we need them today. So really what I want to focus on are what are the conditions and conversations that ensure that people become confident and committed to creating caring, collaboration, and positive teamwork where everyone wins and where everyone supports wild success in one another. Equally important is recognizing what conditions and conversations hinder these dynamics and outcomes. Knowing the difference between toxic conditions and ways of communicating that should go, and those that are life-giving, is vital to empowering the creation of constructive outcomes that bring about healthy belonging and where people feel significant. Effective leaders are those who recognize the importance of such considerations and learn to integrate the needed changes into the focus of influence that they bring to those that they lead. Such leaders are highly committed to understanding what concepts, terms, tools, and strategies contribute to the constructive development of people and teams. They model and they instill what they learn that's helpful, first within themselves and then in others. This is the stuff of emotional and social intelligence, and boy, do we need that right now. This work is not for the faint of heart. This kind of leader lives intentionally, seeks to be informed, and is committed and courageous. They invest in whatever it takes to lead exceptional lives, modeling self and social awareness and self and relationship management. And my guest today is just such a leader. Meet Damon Cannon. I've known Damon since the early 2000s, and he's one of the most hardworking, heart-centered people that I know. He walks the path of love and works really hard. He's lived two parallel lives. First, after graduating from Southeast Missouri State University, Damon started in 1993 with a career in financial services. He eventually built his own successful full-service insurance agency and mortgage brokerage company. In 2008, Damon turned his career focus to sports entertainment management, first within the St. Louis Spirits Sports Association, where he managed the St. Louis Spirits semi-pro football team. In 2017, he was inducted into the GMFL Hall of Fame as an administrator. In 2017, Damon brought professional basketball back to St. Louis in the American Basketball Association, the ABA, and the Midwest Sound women's professional basketball team in 2019 as part of the Women's American Basketball Association, the WABA. Today, he is the regional director of the ABA. Simultaneously, beginning in 1993, Damon also started his ministry, becoming licensed to preach the gospel in 1995. Later, he was ordained an elder of the Church of God in Christ, then appointed as a marshal to the jurisdictional assembly, and eventually as the vice president of the state youth department. From 1998 forward, he began working as a pastor. He founded the church New Beginnings, and in 2001, the United Body of Christ Ministries, the UBC, serving churches and auxiliary and outreach ministries spanning 6 countries. Wow, what a workaholic you are, Damon. Damon has served as a chief apostle, a pastor, and a dean of the St. Louis Progressive District, with involvement in the Missouri Progressive National Baptist State Conventions. He serves on their national planning committee for their convention, involving over 1,500 churches and over 1.5 million members. He's also served as president of the Congress of Christian Education and presently is their second vice moderator. Recently, in this role, he was instrumental in the citywide recovery efforts from the recent St. Louis tornadoes. He's also the published author of 3 spiritual books, the publisher of 3 others as well, and the publisher of a Christian musical album. Woo! The focus of Damon's life is to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ and model Christian values that honor every person. He has placed a special emphasis on reaching youth and young adults and developing leaders to advance the kingdom of God. If there ever was someone who seeks to create win-win, it's Damon Cannon. Welcome to the show, my very dear friend.
Thank you so much. I started to look around and say I thought I was on the wrong show. Uh,
Well,
Someone really
I
important
got
that you
tired of
know.
just thinking of all you do. You are a go-getter, my man.
It
So
is such a privilege to be here, and thank you for choosing me and allowing me to share a little bit with you today.
you are so welcome, and I thank you back because we need hope. We need people to know that we can do more than we think we can do. Your testament to that, but also I just want you to be able to tell people things that you have been discovering in your lifelong learning. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the conditions and conversations that you think are vital for people to be healthy and for teams to be healthy?
Well, again, I thank you for allowing me to share on this because it speaks directly to my heart and the challenge with doing so. The conversation that I think we've gotten away from is really being concerned about everyone else winning. It's not even just win-win. It's just for me to win at all cost. And
Mhm.
we've begun to abandon a lot of those principles that caused us to care about other people, to want to see others be successful, to help other people be successful. And we've just become very self-focused and self-centered and selfish, and not in a healthy way, but in a way that causes me to overlook and sometimes overrun others. So having a conversation like this is so powerful, just to remind us that it matters what's going on with other people's lives. It matters whether or not others are successful, not just me. So I think that's my break-in point there. And I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about it.
I love it that you brought that up. And I don't think people are naturally selfish. I think they've been conditioned to be selfish. I think
Yeah.
it's actually quite unnatural and unhealthy in body, in soul, in our mental health when we get so focused on getting as opposed to win-win with one another.
Mhm.
And so I know people are presenting right now a lot more being self-centered, but I think they've kind of lost their way. Do you see that? Do you see the negative effects of that?
Absolutely, and we always talk about culture and bringing about a culture change. And one of the things that I've seen, even in our association, uh, I was working in a East region in particular, and our campaign for the year was "Win Together," because I saw in so many cases we had so many great people, great leaders, great owners, great coaches, but they spent all of their energies working against one another
Mhm.
rather than working together. Whereas if we would have taken a collaborative approach, we could have accomplished so much more. But we hadn't adopted a culture that said we can actually win together. It's
Right.
good for all of us to be successful. It's good for all of us to accomplish our goals and dreams. So we spent all of our energy that could have been productive. We spent all of that trying to sometimes even sabotage one another, because that felt more like success rather than seeing the next person win.
Yeah, it's like a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
And I think part of that is because people have had their power shamed and oppressed, and they think power means winning over someone else,
Mhm.
dominating someone else, as opposed to the expansion that happens when we are thoughtful about one another. So,
Yes, and a lot of times, even when you engage with a person, you can probably tell early in that conversation that they enter the conversation guarded. They enter the conversation with their weapons drawn. They're already determined that you're not going to beat me, you're not going to get me, you're not going to take advantage of me, and they miss half of what you're even talking about, because they're already trying to make sure you don't slide one past them. I'm on top of you. And
Yeah.
they're not in a healthy place of open and ready to receive.
It's a defensive protection.
Yes.
It reminds me of a story. I remember you might have heard me tell this. This man came to my house one time and there were 50 people there. He was leading a group and he went around and met everybody. And when he got up in the front of the room, he remembered every single person's name. And I said, "Do you have some kind of memory trick?" And he said, "No, what I do is every time I'm going to meet a group, if I feel any tension in my body, I ask myself, what am I afraid of being judged for?" And he
Mhm.
was able to work through that before he walked in the door. He said, because what happens is when we meet people and we shake hands with them, if we're not cleared of anything we're afraid of, we have a resistance up. We don't even hear them say their name. We might be shaking the third person's hand and we're thinking, what was that first guy's name? He just told me, because of
Mhm.
our defensiveness. And so people will say often, I'm terrible with names. It's usually I'm terrible with being in protection.
Yeah.
So,
I do remember you sharing that. And believe it or not, I use that technique. Even if I go out and I'm speaking at somewhere that's new or there's a new group of people, I will just go out in the crowd and start to engage with people and shake some hands and get to know some names. And that kind of helps me to feel comfortable and safe in that environment. Whereas maybe I don't feel comfortable sometimes. So
yeah.
I've actually used that.
Yeah, he really focused on I am responsible to take down my defensiveness.
Yes.
And that's something not all of us even pay attention to. We might even feel tension when we walk into a group and not realize, wow, that's some work I need to do. What am I afraid of? And I know you
Mhm.
and I have talked about this, about the prayer of please release me from the need for love, approval, and acceptance, because
Right.
that is the fear. Like, what if people don't like me or that sort of thing?
Mhm.
And I know
Yes,
you use that as well.
I do. I do. You're telling all of our secrets, right? But it's so important because I think if we're not introspective, if we don't realize what's really motivating us, then we create an environment that's not trustworthy.
Right.
Because secretly, I'm dangerous because I'm scared. And I have my sweet puppy is running around here somewhere, and I learned so much from our relationship. He was a rescue, and he came to me almost a year old, and he had been in a traumatic situation. Actually, his previous owners were killed in a gunfight, and
Mhm.
and so loud noises disturbed him. Any sudden movements put him on guard, and he was in the house with me for weeks before we started making physical contact. And that's because he was afraid of me and I was afraid of him.
Mm.
And everything that I was doing to try to make him like me was really making him afraid.
Mhm.
And the things that he was trying to do to engage with me, I was uncomfortable. So we couldn't trust each other.
Mhm.
And I actually went to the store. I won't give them a free plug, but I went to the store and to one of the little training shows. And I said, how do I get along with this dog? How do I get to know him? And they said, well, just get some treats and just kind of drop them. Don't try to hug him. Don't try to pet him. Just try to drop the treats around and let him get the treats. And after a while, he'll begin to realize that you're the person that gives him good things. And,
Yes.
and once he feels comfortable that you're the person that gives him good things, he'll let his guard down and he'll engage with you. And then it'll be safe.
I love it because, you could have just started to hold a negative idea of him. And then you
Mhm.
would have kept him in what we call the monster box. And
Yes.
and he would have then felt your disdain and kept you in the monster box, which he had
Right.
you in because of his past. And instead, you were able to live into something bigger, which is really fits with people as well. People have
Mhm.
been so hurt. It's called trauma informed, if that, which sounds
Yes.
so dramatic. But even the simplest of us that haven't had real big T trauma, we've been traumatized in one way or the other.
Right.
Shame, told that we weren't good enough, told that we were failing. And
Yes.
as a result, we put on that armor. And so when you were taught to give that dog good things, it's really a good thing for us to do to one another.
Absolutely.
And yet it's hard
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I think that sometimes we actually become the monster that everybody thinks we are.
Right.
When people put us in the monster box, they treat us that way. We start to identify with that, even though it's not who we really want to be. It's not who we are in our core, but because everyone sees us that way, we just kind of gravitate to being what they already think that I am, whether that's good or bad.
Yes, yes. And
Yes.
you know about the work that I do, which is all about taking people out of that monster
Right.
box
Right.
and learning how to treat one another as though we are good.
Yes.
Because even when the approach that we use based on Alfred Adler's work is used in prisons, the recidivism rate, repeat reincarceration goes way down into the single digits.
Hmm.
So, it is so easy for others to put us in a box, for us to put others in a box, and then for us to keep the lock on the door of our
Hmm.
own idea of ourselves. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it is a
Well,
challenge.
when we go back to believing that everyone is inherently good, and
Yes.
when I believe that, it changes my approach. I don't come into a new relationship defending myself against someone that I believe is good, but I have to first believe that people are good, and that's something that's happening in my heart and in my mind before I ever reach that person.
Yeah, and there are some people in the world that their behavior is so atrocious that
Hmm.
it's hard to remember that under it all,
Hmm.
they're good. That they're sick, that they've been so traumatized or brutalized or conditioned that their behavior is out of reach, at least most of the time. But it's real interesting because I know there's a lot of hard feelings right now in our United States politics where people that see someone's behavior, and I don't want to name names, but we see behavior that is atrocious,
Hmm.
and it's tempting to hate that person rather than recognize that they're not a good fit for something and that they should be stopped, but not necessarily hate it. Because when we hate, we're actually buying into the win-lose dynamic as
I was
opposed to
Oh, go
stopping.
ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was so glad that you made that transition because I was thinking in real time about our government and in particular our highest levels of government. And I found myself even at points being very judgmental and being critical of our top levels of leadership. And I had all of these critical things to say about them and everything. And then God really kind of interrupted my flow and said, and when you say all of those things that he is, he's someone that I love. He's someone that I want to save. He's someone that I want to see be successful. And I had positioned myself as the opposition as opposed to an asset. And I don't know that a lot of times we realize that the people that we're hating, that maybe we're actually assigned to serve. Maybe we're there to be the blessing in their life. Maybe we're the catalyst for change in their life, that they would be their best self if we became our best.
Yeah.
But because we're not operating in that place, we create the dynamic that makes them bad,
Well,
if we want to
and
call it that.
and then it rubs off on us. Then we become
Yes.
less of who we could be. And
Yes.
to kind of take it out of the US picture, I remember when I would work with people on the fact that we all have these four core needs to feel empowered, lovable, connected, and contributing. And I would
Mhm.
have them imagine, all the things you would think or say to somebody that's in front of you. But then I would have that somebody represent the figure of Hitler. And it was
Right.
very hard for them to want that person to feel empowered, lovable, connected, and contributing. But
Right.
what I would do in that exercise is I would say, that I would tell the story of what caused Hitler to become Hitler.
Right.
And it was a lot of hatred and a lot of beatings and a lot of neglect. And it
Mhm.
doesn't justify the behavior.
Mhm.
So when you are serving a person that is doing horrific things, murdering millions of people, because there's a lot of that
Mhm.
going on, even today, all over the world,
Yeah.
it does not mean that you're serving their ends to do those things. It means that by putting more uh, firm and respectful and loving action into the world, you're standing for win-win, even though you're saying no to certain behaviors.
I'm going to put my preacher hat on for the 30 seconds here and say, you don't overcome evil with evil. You overcome evil with good.
Right.
And that's clearly stated in the Bible, and it has to be real in our hearts. But sometimes we are not living by that principle of, in order for me to bring good into the world, I have to do good. I can't do evil to bring about good.
Well, all the major famous leaders, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi,
Mhm,
Nelson Mandela, and many others were
mhm.
of that same mind that
Right.
we have to stop the injustices and stop the negative behaviors and become a just and caring and collaborative community, which is what people want everywhere in workplaces and schools and communities.
Mhm.
But that does not mean we have to hate people.
Absolutely.
No, and so it is a tough situation because it's so easy for people to slide down into that kind of group mob mentality
Mhm.
of win-lose if they justify it in their mind.
Right.
I remember years ago seeing a talk show back when Phil Donahue was on, and this he had three mothers of that had had murdered children.
Hmm.
And that was before it was even that common for there to be a lot of murders on talk shows, you know. And
Right.
they were asking them, he was asking them, do you believe in capital punishment? And one of the mothers totally affected me because she said, no, because anytime I justify killing somebody, it gives justification to the world that there are times it's okay to kill somebody. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, there aren't times people do that to protect, but,
Mhm.
but I loved it that her basis was no, we need to be a society that focuses on winning, everybody coming out safe, everybody coming out better, not focusing on who we can take out.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
which is a hard one because
Yes.
it's easy to sound like we're condoning bad behavior, and I know we're not.
Well, and we haven't checked into ourselves to see that it's bad, even if we do it. There's something that says that it's okay because I have a reason. I'm
Right.
justified in my bad, but the other person is bad for no reason. But when we
Yeah.
break it back down and realize that bad is just bad, no matter who's doing it, then we
Right.
have to think about, what are we doing that's good? Am I good regardless of my reason? Even
Yeah.
if my reason is selfish, am I doing good for selfish reasons? Am I doing good to bless somebody else? Am I doing good to bless myself? But no matter what, I'm creating good as opposed to creating bad.
Right, which kind of leads me to an important conversation about win-win. Win-win must be based in a purpose, a positive high intention, because then you are doing that checking in. You are saying, wait a minute, is what I'm doing helping me to live to my purpose, myself, and to bring it and cause it for other people? And that's often stop you in your tracks kind of a question because
Mm-hmm.
you can answer honestly, yes. Like my purpose is to create a world where all people love their lives. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I'm doing something, like if I'm ready to send back a nasty email to somebody and I check in and go, wait a minute, is this going to help me love my life? And is this going to help me, the person on the other end of this email, love their life the way that I'm doing it, with the energy I'm doing it, with the
Mm-hmm.
intention I'm doing it? And if
Mm-hmm.
the answer is no, then I need to adjust because it is
And
intention.
that is so beautiful. Which, I love your mission, and you help me in developing mine, which is to help people accomplish their goals and dreams. And when I know that that's where I'm at, but sometimes it helps me because I have to check in, because all the time you don't feel how you want to feel while you're helping somebody else accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. But you have to go back and reset and say, wait a minute, I'm not here to feel good. I'm here to help them accomplish their golden dream. And maybe that might not feel good on one day. You know what I mean? Maybe that may cause some sacrifice from me, but it's why I'm here. So as long as I go back and revisit why I'm actually doing what I'm doing, it definitely makes me reset and refocus on why I'm doing it, my purpose.
Yes, yes. And you still have free will to decide when and how. But, you know,
Yeah.
it reminded me just the other day, literally, somebody called me that I've worked with, and one of my clients, and said,
Mm-hmm.
I have this person on the team. I just don't like her. These are the things she's doing that's bothering me. Can I just ignore her? And I said, "What is your purpose statement?" Because I knew it was, I'm here to help people be their best, very similar
Right.
to yours. And I go,
Yeah.
"Well, you could ignore her, but would that
Right.
be kind of living into your purpose statement?"
Yeah. Not so much.
Not so
Yeah.
much, but what she also had to come to terms with was, I don't feel my best right now, so I
Right.
first need to focus on that, which
Right.
is which kind of put her in this place where now she was aware of where she was being unhelpful, and
Hmm.
then she was aware that that she wasn't ready to extend it out yet, but that she wanted to work toward that. So it's really powerful when we go back to our why. So
And I'm so excited. You got me juiced up here because it makes me think about where we talk about putting the mask on you first. Put the oxygen mask on you first. And a lot of times, even in trying to walk in our purpose, we lose sight of how to make it happen in us. And I want to see everyone be wildly successful, but that means I have to be wildly successful. I
right.
want to see people accomplish their goals and dreams, but that includes me too.
Yes.
And sometimes we neglect ourselves, not realizing that that's neglecting accomplishing our purpose.
Yes.
So what makes me happy? What makes me accomplish my goal? Am I getting what I want out of this? And
Mhm.
then if I do that, then I can also share that with others. But I don't want to take up all the time. I know we're probably going to have a break here soon, and I feel preachy.
Yeah, well, I love it that you're preachy because we need to be talking about these things. They're so important. But let's plan on talking about the challenges you're finding in the people that you lead when we come back from the break.
Awesome. Yes.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's episode with Damon Cannon. We are going to talk next about the challenges that he has been finding in the people that he leads, whether it's in the church community or in the sports community. So, Damon, take it away.
Well, I mentioned just a little bit earlier about winning together and the idea of winning together. And in the sports, I'll go to sports first. It's interesting for me because I was introduced into sports through church. My first coach was a preacher, and so he kind of influenced me on both sides of the aisle here. And I think what we find out is that in the effort to compete, we've often lost sight of caring for the other person, uh, and not being conscious of the fact that compete doesn't mean hurt.
Mhm.
Uh, just because I'm being my best, it doesn't mean that I have to make you bad
Mhm.
or make you feel bad. And I don't remember who the person was that influenced me on this, but they said when you're competing, you're not competing against your component or your opponent. You're actually competing against yourself.
Mhm.
What you want to do is go out and be the best you that you can be. And if you're being the best you that you can be, then you can win without detracting from the next person.
Just before you go on to the church community, I want to comment on that because I've always felt that same way that when I'm watching an athlete that is extraordinary, usually I can tell that they're focused on their mastery, on
Mhm,
their skill,
mhm.
on being the best them, as opposed to that feeling, that killer feeling that comes
Right.
when against somebody. And so I think a lot of times when people say to me, "Well, are you against competition in sports?" No, but it's the definition you just gave, that competition we have with becoming the best and
Hmm.
maintaining the dignity of the people around us.
Right.
I see some politicians that I really admire that they are mastering their craft, but they're also not taking other people down while they're opposing something that they're discussing. They still approach with consideration.
Hmm.
And I think that's what you're saying is that being your best doesn't mean you have to hurt somebody.
It's excellent, excellent. And you're going to see that in politics. You're going to see that in sports. And as you brought it up, you even see it in church
Yeah.
because it's not the vehicle that's creating that, it's the person that's in it. So whether that person's in politics or that person's in sports, or even if that person's in church, it's a sad reality, but true, that sometimes even as pastors, you might find yourself wishing ill against another pastor. Uh, if that pastor down the street, their church was damaged in the tornado, you're not thinking, how can I help them fix their church? Sometimes we have some pastors that are thinking, I hope their members come to my church.
Wow.
Uh, maybe this is my time to be blessed.
Mhm.
So since they can't have church, maybe those people will come join me, and we kind of capitalize on somebody else's downfall, rather than help them be successful and still be competing. And
Yes.
so whether my church is literally next door to yours or not, we can both be successful.
Mhm.
We can have our success to scale. We can accomplish what our purpose is, and neither will have to hinder the other, but we could actually help one another to be successful. Unfortunately, most of the time, that's not what happens, whether it be in church or in sports or in politics and so forth, because we think the best way to be successful is to bring about your demise. If
Yeah.
I eliminate all the competition, then I can win. But that process, or that thought process of eliminating competition, means that I'm eliminating it in me. I'm not making myself better. I'm just weakening everyone else around me. And
Yeah.
if that's my approach, then what I'm doing is just weakening the entire vehicle. It doesn't matter if it's the body of Christ or if it's the sports league and so forth. I just make the league weaker so then I can win, rather than raise the bar and challenge everyone to go high, challenge everyone to be great, and then we can all win together. And that's been the campaign that I was sharing, was how do we win together? How can I be excited about seeing you be successful? And I'll tell a brief story, if I may. Uh,
Mhm.
this was years ago. There was a church that I felt led of God to go and help. And this was early as I was pastoring. I had a small following at that time. We were having regular service, but God literally said, go over here and help this other church. And I went and I spoke to the pastor, and I told him, hey, my name is Damon. I'm here. I felt led of the Lord to come help you in your ministry, or some things that you want to do, and I'm here to help. And the pastor sat back in his chair and he looked at me and he said, you're a pastor? And I said, yes. And I told him, and he said, you have a church? I said, yes, I have a church. It's right over here. And he said, you have members in your church? Yes, sir. I have members in my church. Some of them will be coming too. And he said, and you want to come help me? And I said, yes. And he said, I'm not getting it. Let's start over. Now you're a pastor, and we went through that like 3 or 4 times. And he never, I believe he's gone on to heaven now, but he never accepted the fact that I was there to help, and therefore never accepted my help. Uh,
Wow.
he was not willing to believe that someone who was a pastor of a church that was also growing could care about him growing,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
care about, he just couldn't accept it. It was nice. I was kind. It was seemed to be a nice young man, but why?
Yeah.
Why would you want to help me? Why not do it for yourself? I said, well, I am doing it for myself, but I can do it for you too. And
Yeah.
and I don't think we have accepted an idea that says that I can really want you to be successful at the same time that I am.
It's an abundance mindset.
Yes.
We've been conditioned to think scarcity, short-sighted. We've even been conditioned to be calloused. He
Yeah.
couldn't even receive
Right.
some, a gift, and even a gift coming from God. And actually, it sounds almost like the gift from God to him was you, you
Right. Exactly.
mindset,
Yes.
not necessarily being able to help him. But wow, what a powerful, kind of sad story, because that's the challenge right now. That's why I always say power over and power under, and win lose, or holding on with
Hmm.
a death grip. That's a good
Hmm.
story of even a pastor holding on to that with a death grip. And
Right.
win is trying to break through and be birthed, which is power
Hmm.
within and power between, and an
Hmm.
abundance mind. So wonderful story. Getting back to a challenge, would you feel like sharing what you told me about the people that didn't want to help certain people in the tornado, or is that something you'd rather not talk about?
Oh no, I mean, well, that was just an example. That wasn't thankfully not a specific story, but it's an example of where people are literally experiencing that, whether it be a tornado or just they're suffering some financial difficulties, or maybe there's a fall off. One of the things that, and this is a little churchanese, but in a little churchanese, one thing that we talk about is people that church hop. They leave this church and they go to another church and they go to another church, and the leaders of that church are soliciting people from the church down the street and saying, come to my church, we're better. Come to my church, we're bigger. Come to my church, we're better than them. And so people bounce around from church to church looking for the bigger, better deal, not realizing that we're handicapping the church at large, when the mission of the church should be reaching the people that are not reached, the people that are quote unquote lost, that don't have a church home. We're totally ineffective at reaching them, but we're trying to build ourselves by tearing down someone else.
Yes.
And in doing so, we miss the overall purpose of being a church in the first place, which is reaching the people that haven't been reached. And that comes from a healthy, unhealthy place of just realizing that, or trying to do whatever it is by hurting someone else.
Yeah,
And,
and I see that in business as well. I see people, like my favorite thing to hear when I go in and help a company is somebody saying, "Wow, I never thought that person would turn around." Whether
mm-hmm,
it's an executive who is toxic, or an employee, a frontline employee that's toxic, we tend to discard people. Oh, these are our good performers. These are our good leaders. These are our bad leaders.
mm-hmm,
And it's that same idea that I have to pick and choose, as opposed to saying, how do we help everybody rise together? It is very much where people then fall through the cracks. Like even in our society, this idea of winning at the cost of other people, look at how much inequity we have in
mm-hmm,
companies and in our world,
mm-hmm.
just where some people have too much and other people don't have enough.
And in doing so, I think it's great because I'm a capitalist, uh, but I don't think I have to not care. And so we feel like we have to abandon care in order to have a high level of success. Be the best, win it all, make all the money you want to make, be as big as you want to be. But that doesn't mean I have to stump out everybody else along the way. And we still have to ask ourselves, now that I'm there, what do I do now? I asked our church a interesting question, and some of our leaders. I said, if our church closed today, what would be the difference? What Who would care? Who would be affected by it? And if we can't articulate how our church is impacting the people around us, then we're not walking in purpose. We're a church. We could be a big church, a strong church, successful church, whatever the case may be. But are we really successful if we're not walking in purpose? What is the difference that we're making in the world around us? And I think it's so easy to be so concerned about being the biggest and best that we lose sight of why we want to be the biggest and best. Now that we're here, what will we do?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching the movie I Am recently. It's an older movie, but it's a documentary about this movie producer, Tom Shadyac. He produced a lot of the Jim Carrey movies and all that. And he was super wealthy, had all these big mansions and everything. And he realized he had this really bad accident where he almost had a like ongoing concussion. Didn't know
Mm-hmm,
if he was going to be able to come out from the symptoms of it. And he realized that all this extra stuff he had wasn't making him happier.
mm-hmm,
And he started to go to people that were like the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu and asking them, like, what's wrong with the world and what do we need to do to fix it? And one of the things that he started to recognize is that even in the animal kingdom, when they kill, like a lion kills a gazelle, it doesn't go kill 20 gazelles. It kills
right.
what it needs. It just takes what it needs. And that real mental illness is taking more than you actually could use or need.
Wow.
And
That's
so
good.
even the best capitalists are the ones that maybe have a lot of financial success, but then they use it to be
Right.
helpful to other people. And
Yes.
and then everybody, like you said, everybody rises together. It's a very abundance mindset and a
Mhm.
supportive mindset, as opposed to a let me just hold everything to myself while children are starving
Mhm.
or homeless or what have you.
Let me go to the sports community and talk about basketball. And this is something that we're working on right now. Our league is divided into regions and geographically so. So there's probably 30 or so teams in each region, give or take. And one of the things that we talked about is for the teams in your region, how can you make them successful? What can you do on a week to week basis to make your neighbor team successful? So if it's not your game, it's not a home game, but we're going to Judy's uh, arena and we're going to play there. You know, what can I do to be successful? Can I bring 100 people to her game? Can I sell 100 tickets to her game? Can we buy T-shirts? Can we buy popcorn, and so forth? What can we do to help promote her event? Even though we're not quote unquote getting anything out of it, but can you see how that begins to change the outlook? Like even though we're going to compete on the court, I still want to see you be successful.
Yeah.
You know, I still want to see, I want your business to thrive. I want you to get the benefits of hosting this. And if I have that attitude, and then by doing so, you take the same attitude towards me, then now you're going to make me, and it may not be the same numbers to scale, but it's the attitude that we have towards one another. I actually want to see your event be successful. I actually want to see your game be great.
Even if it doesn't come back from the same source, I think that
Even if it doesn't,
it just
yes.
magnetizes back. And you know what's interesting is in our work, Adler talked a lot about the inferiority complex and how so many people, when they sink into that, they don't feel important. They don't feel that they belong in a healthy and community.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't feel that sense of empowered, lovable, connected, and contributing. But contributing is one of our deepest needs. And so when we're given opportunities and we're encouraged to contribute, it actually gives us something just by doing the contributing.
Yes.
It tends to take an emergency a lot of times for people to open up that contributing valve. But
Mm-hmm.
if we help people do that more, I think it just creates a lot more fulfillment for people that they don't even realize they're lacking, that they're missing out on.
It's just like the philanthropists that for a living, what they do is give.
Mhm.
This is their profession is giving. And what they do is just try to find the best places and best opportunities to give and help things grow. And they feel some fulfillment, and success is measured by their ability to give. But if we don't think that way, and I don't know, probably you can give me a little insight on what that is, but I think when we're not thinking that way, we're creating something different.
Mhm.
If we're not thinking generously, if we're not thinking philanthropic, we're creating something that's maybe not what we want to see.
I honestly believe it's people have been conditioned to not really understand what makes them happy. We
Mhm.
were raised in homes and schools where there's a lot of domination. It's well intended.
Mhm.
It's a lot of use of pressure and shame. And Alfie Kohn talks about it as what we do too much to people
Mhm.
instead of doing things with people. And
Ah.
so when we help people to feel like we're with them in something, we want to build something like you're doing with these teams. You're saying, let's do this, not just
Mhm.
you should do this. Um,
Right.
let's do this. And I want to model that for you and model that with you. It's a
Mhm.
whole different dynamic. It doesn't cause people to go out to take that power within and lose it. So
Mhm.
power kind of has a bad name to it because
Yes.
so does the word ego, because it's used, it's often oppressed and then it's misused. But
Mhm.
when it's used properly and it's celebrated and it's guided, it's the most amazing, incredible thing.
Mhm.
So I always think the thought, let's not blame people. Let's look at what system, if it were put in place, would fix this problem with power.
Mhm.
Which is, I think, the real problem is a power problem, is the misuse of power.
And if I'm not comfortable with it, I don't know how to handle. I think you just said the misuse of power.
Mhm.
It's not that I'm powerful that's a problem. It's that what am I going to do with that power when it's given to me?
Yes.
And I think it shifts into the dangerous place of abuse. Is someone taking the power that they have and using it to the detriment of someone else,
Right.
whether that be physical or emotional or whatever it is. I have the ability to oppress you, so I do. Uh, but if I'm having that ability, but I can still be gentle and caring and loving and supportive. I don't have to lose my power in order to do that, but I have the power to be gentle. I have the power to be caring. I have the power to support someone else. And if
I
I know that, that's where I can do it.
I even have the power to be firm and caring. It,
Yes.
sometimes it's gentle and sometimes it's not. And
Hmm.
but it's caring and it's respectful, and that feels very different. I remember teaching people, which is kind of counter to what some people say nowadays, but when a policeman has to put somebody into the police car to take them to jail because maybe they were drunk driving or something, if they shove them into the car and they pull back on their arms and they're consciously trying to hurt them, they're not going to be thinking, oh my God, why did I drink and drive? And oh, how did I get myself into this? And what am I going to do? They're thinking, oh, look at how unfair everybody is, how everybody treats me. And I don't care about them. They don't care about me.
Hmm.
It's the firmness with the respect that causes people to go in and more often than not say, well, gosh, I got myself into this.
Hmm.
One of the things that your conversation reminds me of is that quote by Marianne Williamson. It's our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that
Hmm.
we're powerful beyond measure. Well, why are we so
Yes.
afraid of our power? It's because we've been taught to be afraid of it. When we
Right.
are taught to bring it out of the darkness and get real intentional with it, it's exhilarating to people.
Hmm.
And that's why I love to think of everybody as salvageable within an organization generally. Now they have to want it to some extent. If they don't, of
Hmm.
course you can't. Like that pastor wouldn't receive from you.
Right.
In general, most people, if you show them a better way, they will operate from it.
Hmm. And I'm learning, and maybe you can give us some insight on this, because when you're encountering someone like that pastor, or even if it's in other circles where they feel like they have to be defensive, or they're operating in scarcity and so forth, there's something that has to change in us that makes it safe for them. And I think that sometimes we haven't considered that while we're trying to fix and convert them, that what we really needed to do is manifest something in us that just makes it safe.
Well, it's
And
interesting that you're saying that because we have this exercise in our work called the thermometer.
mhm,
And if in the thermometer exercise, you look at somebody that you're trying to influence, and if you can't seem to influence them the first time, you stay there until you do influence them. And it
mhm,
might be trying different tactics. And I'm not suggesting that you would have known at that time, but if you had known, you might have said something like, "Gosh, I want to be collegial with you. I want to be have camaraderie with you and have a spirit of
mhm,
love with you. And I don't know how to break through because there's a closedness. And I don't, is there anything I can do to build trust with you? Like, I don't know. Or maybe it would have been to start telling him some jokes,
mhm,
like there's so many things we can try, but we
mhm,
don't know what to try or that we could continue to try, that we often just kind of walk away and say, well, I don't know what to do. And that's okay too, until we have other tools. That's why I think it's so important for people to recognize, wow, is this an opportunity?
mhm,
This person that did not want to help the other person, wanted to just kind of ignore her. It was
mhm,
an opportunity. And when I said to her, I go, oh, your purpose is to help people be their best. She goes, oh, come to think of it, this same problem has happened to me 2 or 3 times.
mhm.
Fronted with somebody with the same kind of behavior, and I just walked away and ignored it. So it's almost like we keep getting our lessons handed to us again and again,
Right.
whether
Right.
it's, you know.
I think about, as we use the tool and we may ask, is there any part of our relationship that's not a 10 out of 10? Uh, Anything between us that's not. And then we'll actually list those things, hear those things. And even for me, the challenge is there more? I
Yeah.
hear you saying that there's this, and this, but is there more?
Yeah.
And actually wanting to extract all of the things and then actually be intentional about what can I do to help get this area to a 10? What
Yeah.
what is it that's there? And for most of us, we're not even having that conversation because we've already predetermined that you don't care
Exactly. Or that we don't care. And
or
so,
that we don't care. I was going to say, I was letting that first one resonate, and then I was going to come back and hit them, but you stole it from me. But yes, you know that we know they don't care, and we know they don't care because we don't care, and
that's
so we would rather just go past it and act like it doesn't exist, and we'll have what we call decency, which is really indecent.
right.
It's really kind of, I'm being fake. I'm not being honest. I'm not being transparent. I'm just gonna smile at you, and as long as we're both smiling, we know that we don't like each other. We know we don't get along. We're not there to support or help one another. We don't want to see each other win, but we're smiling, so it's okay. You know.
Yeah, I don't care is usually a defense mechanism. It's not
Mm-hmm,
real. It's not true. Um,
mm-hmm,
and one of the things that you were talking about is when we want to have everything resolved with somebody, when we want to 10 with them, and how
mm-hmm.
we go to those behaviors that build or break trust.
Yes.
When I think of that story about the pastor,
Mm-hmm.
one of the behaviors that he was breaking is he wasn't receptive. He wasn't open to what you had to bring, your mindset, the way that you were thinking. He wasn't even able to give you honest recognition for who you were because he kind of kept you at a distance, like he didn't trust you, didn't believe you. And on
Absolutely.
and on your side of the coin, it was probable that you didn't know it was okay to disclose how that all made you feel. Not because you're trying to change his mind, but just, wow, I'm kind of taken aback because
Mm-hmm.
I just want to have like an abundance mentality with you or a closeness with you as a fellow, church. And I don't know what to do with this. Like that's the kind of disclosure that we're not comfortable doing because it feels so open and vulnerable. And what if this person starts attacking me for being
Right.
open,
Right. I'm in danger there. If I had an opportunity to talk to him now or someone else like him, I would ask, can you ever remember a time that someone helped you that had no other reason to help you but just to see you be successful?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would bet that he couldn't. I
Mm,
would bet that he couldn't remember a time. He probably had plenty of times where he felt betrayed or sabotaged or something like that, but it would probably be a challenge for him to remember a time that there was someone that really intended good for him, and all he was doing was showing me that he couldn't see that. So now if I understand that that's where we're having our breakdown, I think that collaborative environment that we want to see, it goes down to really understanding, why are you here? I'm not criticizing you for being here or feeling the way you feel, but why are you here? You're here because you can't imagine that anyone really wants to help you.
yeah.
Maybe from childhood, people have always taken advantage of you and tried to get over. So when I come along, I must be just like them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and if I can't conceive good, if I can't conceive that someone cares or wants to help, then it's hard for me to receive it.
100%. I can't agree more. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's just people seeing something modeled, which is
Mhm.
why I think what you do and your constant lifelong learning is so
Mhm.
important and you're being willing to put yourself out there.
Mhm.
One of the things that also is a question that I would probably ask of someone like that is, can you remember a time where you did something for somebody, not expecting anything in return and how it made you feel? Because
Yeah.
most people can
Yes.
remember that. Because when we're little kids, we have a generous nature a lot of the time, unless we were deeply neglected and abused, which some people have been. But
Yes,
Czar, as a pastor, he probably had some place in him about service. But
absolutely.
it is like digging for the gold, isn't it?
Yes, that's so excellent. I think you just helped me. I'm going to make that my aha for the day. That we go back and stay in our own yard and say, do I remember a time where I did it, and how did it make me feel? And is that what I'm seeking right now? Am I seeking to feel that way? And I think if I engage there and I'm honest with myself that this is what I'm looking for. I really want to do something for someone and I want to feel this way again. So whoever it is that I get to help, I feel good about it because that's what I've been seeking, is that feeling. I thank you for bringing that.
You're so welcome. I can't help thinking that this topic is about confident, caring, collaborative people. This is the most collaborative interview. It's almost like sometimes you're interviewing me and sometimes I'm interviewing you. I love it. So
Yes.
we're getting close to the end here. We only have a minute left, a couple minutes. So what words of wisdom would you want to leave with our audience today on that subject?
I'm going to say trust again. Trust again. I preached a sermon several years ago, and the sermon was distrust distrusts. When you're in a place where you don't trust other people, it's probably because you're not trustworthy within yourself. So let's go back and be trustworthy. Let's exhibit the core values that build trust in the relationships that we have. Let's just be good and believe that everybody else wants to be good. Give people a chance. Give them another chance, even if they messed up the last 5 times. Trust them again. Give them the opportunity to be great, and you will see that you are actually creating the good that you want to see in the world. That's my word of wisdom.
I love it. Trust again, trust others, trust yourself again. Just
Yes.
pick it up anew. Damon, I can't imagine anybody more perfect for this topic. We've been through some times where we've said firm things to each other, and some times where
Yes.
we've just had some good laughs and some fun adventures. And in all of it, I constantly feel a development of my own confidence for your friendship, my
Yes.
own wanting to be a more caring, collaborative person. And I just see that blooming in you more and more all the time. And I'm so grateful for you being on this show. And I invite our audience to really take to heart what you heard today, especially trust again. Thank you, everyone. You've been listening to When Everyone Wins, where we're shifting power over and under to power within and between. I'm Judy Ryan, your transformation talk radio host. Tune in each second and fourth Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time to learn new concepts and tools and listen to conversations I have with thought leaders and change agents. You'll also see real-world applications of what I'm covering so that you experience the power of the concepts and tools I share. In each episode, I bring you my knowledge from decades in workplace culture transformation and leadership development as the founder and CEO of LifeWorks Systems. I invite you to call in with your unique stories and questions. The path to ensure that everyone wins depends on our ability as people to create a life we love and help others do the same. For more information, visit lifeworksystems.com.